All right, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to do a quick little instructional video this time on CB750s, specifically the clutch and how to remove that. So what I got here, I got a little GoPro. I'm going to strap that on real quick onto my head and then get into this so that we can actually show how this works. So give me a second. Okay. So I have already kind of loosened up a couple of these. So all these are a bunch of 5mm Allens. So I went through, I loosened all these guys up all the way around. So I'm gonna do that. Like so. They're all loose at this point. All right. There we go. Once they're all loose, I'm gonna grab some gloves real quick. All right. So once you get all these loose, I'm gonna go ahead, just pull down here. Now normally this gasket will be actually attached. I had already had this off earlier today, but figured I would record it just in case. So once you have all those undone and they're loose, just kind of wiggle it. Might fight you a little bit coming off of this little guy, the little kicker lever, but make sure everything's loose, everything's loose, everything's loose. Oops, that guy is not loose. There we go. All right. And then, once everything is actually loose, go ahead and slide that off. So, this is after, of course, I have already pulled the clutch line out. So this is what the clutch goes into. So it comes through here, normally, and then it holds in, this is normally the other way. So this is normally on this other side. I just put it back in a hurry. So it normally sits like, there we go, like that. So normally when you first pull it open, you'll have your clutch line going in here, and then it's got the little ball on it that holds in here. So once you got this off, unscrew or unbolt this guy, which I don't know actually what size that is. Let me check real quick. I'm gonna guess it's a 12. Looks to be a 12. So it looks to be a 12mm nut. So that guy comes off. This little spring sits on this little guy, and that's your actual, what puts tension on it. Pull him off, set him off to the side. Gasket you can pitch if you're gonna pitch it. This one's actually not in terrible shape now that I'm looking at it, but probably gonna pitch it. And now you're gonna pop this little guy through. Boom. Now careful with this guy because he is in some pieces. So this is basically how this mechanism works. So what it does is when you pull on the clutch lever, it does this and applies pressure. So when you rotate it, pressure applied, pressure applied, pressure applied. So that's kind of how it pushes in on this little guy right here. So that's that. Let me set this down real quick. Ooh, big old pile of parts. All right, now we are back into the clutch. So what you'll see here is this is the whole clutch pack. All right, so you got this little bearing in the middle, then you've got these guys. So these little guys are all sitting on top of springs, and you want to kind of just back them out in a sequence. I usually just do a little like star pattern just to get them out. So you kind of want to just back this out slowly. So let's get to that. There we go, finally. Okay. Now these are all hand loose. I'm just gonna go ahead and spin them out. Loose, 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 and loose. Okay. Oops. So, there you go. That is what is behind this thing. So, you got this little plate, those 4 little screws, that little bearing. This bearing goes into that hole. So, yeah, this is your clutch assembly. Pull that guy off, set him over there. Drop this part back where it belongs, because I forgot I still had it. All right, next let's get these guys. So, pull these guys out. So, I don't know that it actually matters which direction these go in, but I always like to put things back the way I got them. So I pull them out like this. I'm gonna keep them like this. So they'll go like that. Those guys go like that. All 4 of them. I'm gonna line them up like so on this little guy. And then I'm going to take this over to the pile of parts. Oh, where do I want to put that? Let's go right next to where it's supposed to go anyway. Boom, right there. All right, so now we're at this guy. So this little thing is obnoxious. So I don't know if you can see this very well, but it's got, they have this actual nut, and then behind it you've got a couple of locking pieces, some locking plates. So right here, where my finger is pointing, that is a little tab that you need to pull down to basically unlock this thing so you can actually spin it. And then we go over here to our specialty tools. So I'm sure that you could make one of these if you really wanted to, but I didn't really want to. So you'll see that this is a little wrench. And what that little wrench does is it sits just like that into those holes, locks in place, so that you can then spin this off. So, that's that. Let me go ahead and grab it. Couple of soft taps with a hammer to get underneath it, and boom. All right. Now, I've got it moved slightly out of the way. Just need to get, you're not gonna be able to see this very well because of the angle, but I promise that all I am doing is I am knocking this little guy out of the way softly. So, that's that. Man, this little bolt is chewed up though. I don't want to replace it, but if I have to, I will. All right. Cardinal sin time. I'm going to use a torque wrench for something that it's not meant to be used for. Sorry in advance. Now, I do not remember off the top of my head if you have to lock this in place or not, so we're going to find out here in a second. When I go to turn this, if it tries to free spin, then I will have to lock it in place to get it to not do that anymore. Yep, gonna have to do that. So, ooh. I know exactly how I'm gonna do it, but it's not the right way to do it. Let's give that a shot, which is still not the right answer, but it's a different kind of not the right answer. Please don't break my teeth off. Ha! All right, don't do that at home. There's probably a better way to do that I don't know, but it's off and nothing broke and these teeth are still attached. Yeah, that was my only concern, is breaking off those teeth, but that doesn't look to have happened. So next pulling off this little guy. So now I don't know if you can see this, but it's tapered slightly. So it's tapered on the side that faces into the engine. Just remember that if you're taking this guy off. It's got a flat side, and then it's got a tapered side toward the engine. And then we have another little locker like that. Then we have another, come on you. Come here, please. Another locker, or another washer, and there you go. And again, I like to keep everything in the order that I find it, so just like that. Now, this guy should, in theory, be able to come out, I think. Unless it decides it wants to stay. There we go. Now, as you're pulling this out, I would recommend hanging on to these little guys so that you pull this thing out as a whole piece, because if you don't, I'll show you here in a second. So there you go. There is the clutch out. I am more and more concerned, completely unrelated topic, with what actually happened to this motor, because that kicker seems to be spinning the way that it's supposed to now that I'm looking at it. I just got to be careful with the pistons. Which makes me think that there's a rod in here that is not correct, or that the valves were doing it. We'll see. Anyway, back onto this topic. So there is your clutch pack words. All right. So what you have here is you've got this backing plate right here. Ooh, please stay in line. So you'll notice that all these little guys are in line. That is because if you don't have them in line, it won't slide back in there. That's kind of how this thing works. So let's see if I can pry this apart. All right. So these are all individual plates and pressure packs. So you have this little guy, sits on the back, looks like that. And then all these are individual pieces. So this is your friction pad. And then right next to that, I'll pull one out just so you can see what it is. So you have your friction pad. These might need to be cleaned, actually. That's just oil. So you have your friction pad, and then you have your little metal band that goes in between, and they're alternating all the way down. So it looks like I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of the friction pads, and then 6 of the metal pads. I don't remember what the actual spec is for these, as far as whether or not they're good or not. If I remember, I will put it up on screen somewhere. And yeah, that's where this is. So, go ahead and pop this back in there. I have done I have fiddled with this clutch before already. Pulling it out, getting these unstuck. When I first got it, they were all stuck together. But this has to come out so that I can get into this. So, there we go. That's the video. Thanks for joining me.